Good evening and welcome to the
Just lying
Hawai'i.
down and I was like one of these hosts. And I was like, oh my God, I think I'm doing it wrong. I don't hear her. Oh, her lips are not moving. What they are now? Yeah, I don't know how to do all this. I'm not speaking.
Whoever Carolyn Messina is, your microphone is on.
There's a few people remote that have their microphone unmuted. Can you please make sure your microphone is muted unless you are actively speaking to the board? Thank you.
The Hawai'i Neighborhood Board is officially called to order. Welcome. My name is Roberta Mayer, and I'm the chair of the Neighborhood Board, and I'm going to ask the board members to introduce themselves, starting at my far right.
Good everybody. My name is Herb Schreiner, Subdistrict 6.
Good evening. My name is Charles Che at large.
Good evening, Elijah Lee, Subdistrict 5.
I'm Greg Knutson, at large.
Aloha, Sam Wolf, Subdistrict 4, the Hawai'i Towers.
Paige Alton, Subdistrict 11, Portlock Road and Monolua Kokokai Triangle.
Those members online, would you please introduce yourself?
Sam Tanigawa at large.
Hello, Sam. Anybody else online? Okay, we're going to be moving on. We have 8 members present tonight, so we do have a quorum, and we may have a couple members joining us online a little later. We're going to start with our status reports, first with the Honolulu Fire Department. Welcome.
Good evening, Chair, Mayor, Neighborhood Board members. The Fire Department incident statistics for July 2000.
It's not coming through.
Okay. The HFD's incident statistics for July 2023 for fires, we had 0 structure fires, 1 wildland brush fire, 1 nuisance fire, 0 cooking fires, and 5 activated alarms with no fire. For emergencies, we've had 94 medicals, 0 motor vehicle collisions with pedestrians.
Judy Ann, if you cannot mute the person who is making the noise, would you please delete, take them off out of the meeting?
Isn't that weird?
It's okay.
I don't know how to. How do we get all those people back too?
Carolyn Makina, if you can hear us, please remain muted unless you want to address the board and the community. Otherwise, we will have to remove you. Thank you.
Okay, continuing. Emergencies, medicals, we have 94, 0 motor vehicle collisions with pedestrians, 6 motor vehicle crash collisions, 2 mountain rescues, 0 ocean rescues, 1 hazardous materials incident. Fire safety tip is fire and fall prevention. Help ensure the safety of our
And we get back
esteemed
to all the
elders.
pictures too.
I'll hold. Continue? Okay. Help ensure the safety of our esteemed elders. Implementing prevention and preparedness practices will promote independence and reduce frequency of injury or death from home fire and falls. Learn more at fire.honolulu.gov fire-and-life-safety/kupuna. Stay in the kitchen when frying food and cooking on the stovetop. Keep a lid nearby. If a pan of food catches fire, slide a lid over it and turn off the burner. Remember, the stovetop and oven are not to be used for storage. Ensure working smoke alarms are installed properly. Bed shaker and strobe alarms are available for hearing or visually impaired occupants. Plan your escape from fire based on your abilities. Keep your exit routes clear. Ensure windows and doors open easily, and practice your escape plan. When the alarm sounds, get outside and stay outside. Call 911 from your safe meeting place using a mobile phone. If you are unable to evacuate, shelter in place, stay near a window, and call 911. Exercise regularly to build strength and improve coordination and balance. Ask a doctor about appropriate physical exercise. Be aware of your surroundings, including uneven surfaces. Take your time when getting out of a chair or bed. Stand and get your balance before you begin to walk. Keep walking areas, pathways, and stairs well lit and clear of tripping hazards. Wear sturdy, fitting footwear and utilize handrails. Review your medications with your doctor. Keep an updated list of medications, medical directives, and emergency contacts posted on your refrigerator. That concludes the fire safety tip.
Questions for the Honolulu Fire Department? Paige?
Thank you for your report. Very appreciated. Quick question for you. The wildfire, brush fire, where was that?
That was a small grass fire under the bridge by Kuli'o'o. And I don't know, yeah.
On the Makai side, by the fire?
I don't know exactly where.
Oh,
They just give us an address and that's the location of it, but it was a small little fire.
So it wasn't a long burning,
No, it
Okay.
was a really small
contained
fire.
pretty quickly.
Oh, yeah, put out right away.
Okay. We're having a presentation tonight on wildfire stuff. And are you going to be able to, you can't stick around? or-
Yeah, sorry.
No, that's okay. I know probably that the people that are putting it on, hopefully they're working with you.
Yes, the HWMO is a partner of HFD. If you go to fire.honolulu.gov, they have their action guide it's actually on the homepage now of the Honolulu Fire Department's website, and they're one of the partners.
Great. Thank you so much.
Captain Parker, I did
Yes.
want to say that the brochure or the pamphlet that the fire department did develop, I think is a wonderful resource for the community. And so could you explain one more time where it can be found
Sure.
so that everybody in the audience can access it?
Sure. So it's on the Honolulu Fire Department's website. It's at fire.honolulu.gov. And or you can just search for Honolulu Fire Department. And when you click the link, it's a link there.
It's a 20-page, very inclusive document.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions for the Honolulu Fire Department? If not, thank you very much, Captain, for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Chair Mayor and board members. Have a good night.
Oh, hold on. We do have some questions. Could you
Okay.
come up to the podium and use the microphone so that we can record your question? Could you please introduce yourself?
My name is Virgil Villaroman. I live at the Esplanade Condominium Complex. And this is my first time to attend the board meeting. And I just want to bring to your attention, I believe there's a fire hazard in the corner of Wailua and Keaole streets. there's a vacant land with dry vegetation. I don't know who owns the property, if it's the state's property or a private property. That's right across the post office. And it's really, really bad because right on the walkway, dry vegetation is really occupying the area, and somebody might be smoking and the fire start, and you never know because there's a lot of nice houses there, expensive houses, and we don't want to lose our houses for sure. So I'm just here to bring to your attention. So please do something about it because I'm really concerned.
Thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Thank
I'm
you.
not sure whether we can do something about it, but we'll certainly try to contact people who might be able to.
Yes, the sooner the better because we don't know, you know.
And just so that you're aware in the community as well, that property is owned by Kamehameha Schools, Bishop Estate.
Oh, okay. So who do you think is gonna initiate?
That would be a better question directed towards them. Since
So
it
we
is,
cannot do anything about it?
I will contact them and let
Please.
them know that it's a concern of the community.
Yes, please. Thank you. Okay.
Any other questions for the Honolulu Fire Department? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, board members. Have a good night.
Is there a representative from the Honolulu Police Department here tonight?
Yeah, aloha, Lieutenant Taro Nakamura with HPD. I apologize for not being in person. We had a situation in Waikiki which required us to just stay back in town just in case, but that situation has resolved itself. So I'm here online. Couldn't get out there, sorry. These are stats for July as compared to the previous month. Motor vehicle thefts were 3 as compared to 1. Burglaries were 1 as compared to 3. Thefts in general were 9 as compared to 8. And UEMVs, which is theft from autos, were 21 as compared to 15. It's out of total calls for service of 6,225 for the district. And further statistical information can be found at honolulupd.org. And back to our safety tip for the month is just the general back to school safety tips. So everybody is running around trying to get their kids to school, but if we can just take a pause and remember that kids are walking to school and bicycling to school, a lot smaller than adults are. And then if you have a child who uses a bike, encourage them to wear a helmet and wear bright clothing. And if you can walk them to school. So that's our safety tip for the month.
Thank you for joining us, Lieutenant. Are there questions for the Honolulu Police Department? Yes, Herb.
Hello, Lieutenant. I just curious. I know it's been 1 week. How's the 13 and a half hour shifts going?
Well, there's been absolutely no increase in staffing. The shifts are longer. The days off are longer. But I don't think anybody should be under the belief that will increase staffing by any measure. Beyond that, I don't want to get into any more trouble than I usually get into. So whatever. Yeah.
No problem. I was actually concerned about how the officers handling on working the long hours. I know when we work the 312, by the end of the shift, you get kind of hazy and tired.
Absolutely. I mean, we did the 312 before. And there are certain reasons why the 312 we no longer did it and we changed to a 5-9. But what can I say?
Yeah, don't get in trouble. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Lieutenant, for joining us tonight. I hope the issue in Waikiki has been settled.
Yes, ma'am. The suspect is in custody, apparently.
Okay. All right.
That's a good
Before we move on, I'd like to acknowledge that we have another board member who joined us online. Elizabeth, would you like to say hello?
Hello, everybody. Apologies for not being in person. Hello.
Oh, and also another board member, Kim Hollinsworth. Kim, would you like to say hello?
Aloha, sorry I cannot be there tonight. I have COVID.
I hope you get better real soon.
Thank you.
Okay. We're going to move on to hear from the Board of Water Supply, Iris Oda.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Sorry for not being there myself. Also, we have one general announcement. It is a disaster preparedness. It's summertime, which means it's officially hurricane season through November 30th. Being prepared and having an emergency kit available for your household is essential. So residents should store at least 1 gallon of water per person daily for at least 14 days. And don't forget about your pets, water for your pets. During an emergency, stay tuned to media reports and subscribe to the city's hnl.info. It's a great way to receive information bulletins by the Board of Water Supply and other emergency city agencies. So you can find out more at boardofwatersupply.com. So that's my general announcement. And sorry, since my speakers weren't working, wasn't working last month, but I had a follow-up from July. Member Sam had asked, he had heard there was on some news thing, I think it was, that there was a reservoir being installed for $43 million. And he was wondering if it was being installed because of the Red Hill issue and if it was being paid for by the Navy. So sorry, I wasn't familiar with that story, but I asked about it. So the response is, the development of this new Waiawa reservoir was already planned when the Red Hill crisis occurred. This reservoir, there is a 55 million gallon storage deficit in the Metro Honolulu area. The Waiawa Well project will address the issue by adding 15% more capacity, or approximately 8.5 million gallons of storage to the water system. So the project is being funded by the Board of Water Supply, ratepayers, and possibly other sources such as Board of Water bonds. So not the Navy. So that was a response to the question in July. And if there's any more questions.
Are there any questions for the Board of Water Supply? Yes, Sam.
Thank you, Iris, for the update and the response. So if I'm understanding correctly, the Navy is not putting any funds towards the development of this new reservoir, which is directly related to the poisoning of the Halava shaft. Is that correct?
The Waiawa Reservoir was not being installed as part of the Red Hill. It was something we were looking into already because of our regular storage research, because of our storage deficit already prior to Red Hill. So the Navy is not putting in anything. It's a Board of Water job only.
All right. Thank you very much, Iris.
Thank you.
We'll see you next month.
All right, we'll do.
I don't see Mr. Gu here this evening, so I'm not sure that we're going to be getting our report on the Kaiser Complex schools, but hopefully he'll be here next month. He's probably very busy with the start of school. So we'll look forward to hearing more. Moving on the agenda, we do have vacancies. We are a 15-member board. We have 11 members seated, and we have 4 vacancies on our board. We have vacancies in Subdistrict 1, which is Marina West, Subdistrict 2, which is Marina Central, Subdistrict 3, which is the Hahaione Valley, and Subdistrict 9, which is Lunalilo Park, Makai. Is there anybody here tonight who would like to be considered for an appointment to join us on this board? Would you please come up to the podium and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hello, my name is Ilsa Silvercrot. I live in Subdistrict 1, West Marina. Been living in Hawaii since 2016, and I find it a wonderful place to live. I have listened to the Hawaii Kai board meetings for a while, and I feel it is a very important function for the community, and so I want to contribute.
Elsa, would you please tell the board what you do during the day, what your regular job is?
What my regular job is, I am. Oh, sure. Yes. I am a professor. I teach undergraduate life science courses, and I do research at UH.
Board members, are there any questions that you would like to pose to this candidate? Greg?
You were just very brief, but I noticed online because I contacted me. So you know a lot about whales.
Yes, I do. I'm constantly learning more about whales and dolphins.
Anyway, very interesting and quite accomplished.
Hi. So thank you for stepping up. It's a big deal to volunteer to be on the board. Why do you want to be on the board, and what do you think you can contribute to Hawaii Kai as a community by being on the board?
I feel that the full board gives a range of opinions about about developments in the community, and therefore you should really have a full board to represent the community at large. And so seeing all these vacancies really compelled me to come forward. I feel strongly that Hawaii Kai is a wonderful community. It is safe and provides a lot of services for the residents. I would like to see this to continue, and I think that the board has an important function to maintain the quality of the community and the larger environment as well, and continue to support the East Honolulu Development Plan, which just was passed, and so I feel I can contribute here.
Any other questions? Our board members online, do any of you have questions for the candidate? All right. Our board can take action to invite a volunteer to join us on the board. So it will take at least 8 votes, and we do have 10 members present tonight. So I'm going to be calling for a roll call vote. Judy Ann, if you would, then I'll be calling the names, and hold on. Herb is going to be giving you a mic, Judy Ann.
Testing. Okay.
All right. Roll call vote, Judy Ann. And how are we going to state this? Do we have to state this in a form of a motion?
No, actually, if you guys want to volunteer if you want to, I can do a roll call vote. It's not a first or second. It's just whoever wants to volunteer, and then I can take a roll call vote.
All right. So a roll call vote to accept volunteer Ilsa on the board. Go ahead, Judy Ann.
Member Alton. Member Che. Member Hollinsworth.
Yes.
Member Lee. Chair Mayor.
Yes.
Vice Chair Riley.
Yes.
Member Schreiner. Member Tanigawa.
Yes.
Member Wolf.
Aye.
Okay, the ayes have it.
And you passed over
Welcome.
me.
Oh,
Yes.
I'm sorry. Member Newton. I apologize. Member Newton. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome,
Thank you,
Elsa.
opportunity.
We're going to have Judy Ann administer the oath of office. And as soon as that occurs, we'll have you seated up here with us. And I'd like to remind other members in the community that we are looking for volunteers that would like to join us on the board. You do represent a sub-district in the Hawaii Kai community. And so the Marina West is now filled, but we have vacancies in Marina Central. Hawai'i Valley, and Lunalulu Park, Mackay. And I'd like to thank Greg for posting the map on Nextdoor to advertise the vacancies. And I'll ask him to do it next month again for the 3 remaining vacant spots. All right. Are there any community announcements? All right. Seeing none, are there any public generated issues that the public wants to bring to our attention? Yes. Could you come on up? There's 2 people. Come on up and introduce yourself and share what you have.
Yes, good evening. My name is Mario Silva, and I live here at the Moorings. Okay, I'll just hold it like this. So I was at the Cocoa Stairs this weekend, and I really have to commend the volunteers. They did a fantastic job, and I think it's a much safer trip right now than it was before. I did notice 2 individuals who were cutting down vegetation, and I approached them and I said, hey, you know, are you authorized to do this? And they said, yes. And they said, we're part of this volunteer group. And I really doubt that that's the case. It doesn't make any sense. If you cut vegetation, vegetation holds water. You can't have water without it, and it tethers the land, increases the risk for erosion, the very thing that the repair of the stairs were supposed to do. So, and there may not be anything that you all can do, but if the word can just get out to the volunteer group, if this is really their position, I'm hoping they're going to reconsider. It doesn't make any sense. And I think we need to be treating the vegetation and everything that grows naturally with some degree of respect. And again, it doesn't make sense. I think it puts the land at risk.
Mario, the name of the volunteer group is the Coconut Coalition, and they do have a web page. And so you can find out more about them. And I'm sure that there'll be a contact number or name so that you can communicate directly with them.
Is it the Coconut
Coconut
Coalition?
spelled Kokonut.
That's why I
And
couldn't find it.
coalition is also spelled with a K.
All right,
So
thank you so much.
Coconut Coalition.
Appreciate
Yes. Okay. Okay.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lisa Lockhart. I'm here tonight to share with you what has become a growing concern about our vulnerability to wildfires in the Hawai'i Kai area. And I'm aware that there's going to be a presentation tonight. I'm very heartened to see that, and hopefully it'll address some of the concerns that we have. But I at least wanted to share with you what some of the community members think and feel, and hopefully that this will compel us to move forward and take a proactive stance. I actually brought up this issue several years ago when we had our most recent fire in Cocoa Head Park, and I was very disappointed that I was summarily dismissed. My concerns were summarily dismissed at that time, and my concern at the time was that nothing would happen until there was loss of life or property. And now we've faced that here on Maui, and in the wake of the devastation, I think it's not abstract for us anymore. It's a wake-up call to really examine our vulnerabilities here and to be more proactive. So I started this petition on the Nextdoor blog, and I won't read through all this. For any members who are interested in reading a copy, I've left some by the sign-up sheet. But I know that there are a number of areas in Hawai'i Kai, according to some of the community members who wrote to me, that have a lot of dry brush, that they feel are vulnerable to wildfires. I can only speak for my area. I live on Kekapua Street, which is adjacent to the Cocoa Head District Park. And behind the park is the shooting range, which most of you know. And there have been in the past some fires that have originated in the shooting range. And because of the desiccated brush behind the baseball fields, and of course the trade winds that blow over, and Kekapua Street is downwind of that area, we've come very close to being in danger. So the last fire, which was ignited somewhere behind the targets, and the cause of which was declared to be indeterminate, resulted in the hikers on the Cocoa Head stairs being evacuated. And those of us who lived on Kekapua Street were ready to evacuate if necessary. So there were embers and smoke coming into the homes. And that was when I had come and presented this issue to the board. Now I think there is a growing concern about that. And I know there like in other areas as well, and I can't speak to that. But what I'd like to do, my reason for being here tonight is to submit a request that's listed here in the petition on behalf of the members who signed it. Currently, there are 23 signatures. But to look at 4 things. One, a comprehensive assessment of the actual risks associated with the Cocoa Head shooting range and all other areas in Hawaii Kai. And then based on the findings of the assessment, develop and determine what kind of regulations or policies or strategies we need to implement to minimize those hazards and to be more responsive to those that problem if a fire were to occur. And then to ensure our fire response capabilities, and then also do some community education and public outreach so we can make the community more aware of the issue and teach other community members how they can individually and as a community take steps to mitigate these risks as well. So that's all I wanted to say.
Liza, you know that we are going to be discussing this tonight, and there will be a follow-up meeting to try to organize some of the residents in the community to establish some Firewise community groups. So we'll take a look at your petition, and if the board is amenable, I'll bring something back for them to consider. Questions, Paige, and then Greg.
It's not so much a question, but we've already got we've got the presentation tonight. Maybe you could merge your forces with the people that are putting on the presentation tonight. That way there's not you doing it and them doing it and then them doing it and them doing it. There's like one big group of people working together. And I think you all have the same goals in mind. So maybe instead of putting out your own petition, you work with them.
Greg?
And I didn't want her to get away from the podium before I wanted to, no, it's okay. You don't want to be on the hot spot, but I did want to note that she's a former board member and her sub-district is vacant right now, and we should have encouraged her to join us again. But anyway, I did have a question though, just is there a drainage canal immediately behind your house and between the park and the regional park? How wide is that? Yeah, sorry, I guess I did ask.
Okay, there is a drainage canal behind some of the houses on Cape Street, but it's run the entire length. So behind my house there is, and it's about 5 to 10 feet wide, but it's really overgrown with brush, and it's not clear who's responsible for clearing that since it's on public property. But there's a great deal of dry brush in that area back there.
Okay, yeah, well, thank you. And I hope we can get into it a little more once we hear the full fire presentation.
Yeah, I know, and I'm looking forward to the presentation and to working, in cooperatively with whomever is interested in addressing this issue. So thank you.
All right, other public generated issues? Oh, I'm sorry. Liza, if you could come back up, there's a question from board member Riley. Go ahead,
Actually,
Elizabeth.
It's just really a comment. I know we have the presentation coming up and Matt's going to speak a little bit, but I do want to mention that in Hawaii Kai, we do have a nationally recognized Firewise community that was very proactive under Hawaii Wildfire Management Organization to form. 2 neighborhoods got together due to fires in 2017 and 2018. And they've been able to uphold that national designation through the works that they've done. So I just wanted to let everybody know, Matt will touch on it, that opportunity exists for all the other little neighborhoods that want to step up and be proactive. It's a good model. You get to work with Hawaii Wildfire Management Organization and possibly Hawaii High Strong just as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. And just for clarification, my name is pronounced Lisa, even though that's okay. No worries.
Okay, Lisa, thank you. All right, come on up.
Madam Chair, my name is Ed Jones, from Kalama Valley. I did put an inquiry on Nextdoor, not quite know where to start, but here's the issue. When the power goes out in Kalama Valley, there does not seem to be any connectivity from Hawaii Tel through fiber optics, and there doesn't seem to be any connectivity over the cell service. So those are the two technologies I use to communicate. So it leaves us without that. Just an added fact, I am using a battery backup on the router and on the converter from the fiber optic cable. But so the lack of battery backup seems to be further down the line. So I'd really be interested to know where to start in talking to, who would be in charge of that issue or receiving a ticket, and what are the standards for battery backup on this equipment. I guess the risk is kind of obvious.
Does anybody have any information that they might share with Ed?
Only speculating that perhaps Hawaii Telcom would be the one to contact on that, because and who else did you say you use? I mean, it would be the companies themselves.
Well, it's I don't have enough knowledge to know who owns the tower, but it's the carrier's T-Mobile that reaches the cell phone. But I don't know whether it's restricted to just one carrier.
Yeah, they don't normally make presentations to us. Sometimes when they're adding equipment, they do, but they don't normally communicate with this board.
Okay.
I think, Ed, the best place to start is with your carrier and find out if they do have any satellite or towers in this area that might be able to give you more information.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it would be my dream to have a Starlink satellite backup on this equipment in case of emergencies. But the, basic, if we lose power on this equipment, Kalama Valley shouldn't be left without communications. So I'll do that. Yeah, if anybody knows of anybody from the state, federal that takes in a ticket like that, that would be great. If not, yeah, I'll be. Governor's rep. Okay.
All right.
Thank
Ed,
you, Mahal.
Ed, if you do find out information and you'd like to share it back with this board, we'd be happy to hear it.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, we're going to be moving on to our presentations. And tonight we are going to be, we have a presentation by Community Wildfire Preparedness and Firewise USA program. And we have a presenter online, but we also have a presenter here in person, Matt Glei from Hawaii Kai Strong. Matt, I'll introduce you and you come on up and say a few words and introduce your colleague, Nani Barreto, who is online, and she has a few slides that she wants to share with us. Matt?
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Matt Glei with Hawaii. Matt Glei with Hawaii Kai Strong. Can you hear me now? Verizon commercial, right? As Elizabeth earlier said, we've had a Firewise community since the fires of 2017 and 2018. And the community stood up a small board of people that got together and followed this process, Hawaii Wildfire Management's process for Firewise communities. And we've been very successful in involving Mariners Cove, Kamilanui Valley, because there's wildland there. And that's the big risk we had back then. And in that process, we've worked very closely with Hawaii Wildfire Management. They've given us training. They've given us a very good process that we use. And there are handouts on the table when you're done, if you're interested. Everything from a go bag checklist, which you should have in your home, to a one pager that sort of explains the process in some detail that Nani will be covering, and an invitation, because we've also set up a meeting in about a week, I think on the 12th, that can be either in person or via Zoom to learn more about this and dig into the detail. So if you guys are interested, these are available. You get a link. They will then send you the Zoom code and all that kind of stuff, the location. Anyway, I really want to introduce Nani Barreto. She's been our Tower of Strength in Hawaii Wildfire Management Organization. They've been active since 2000, and they became a nonprofit over 21 years ago. So they've done a heck of a job, and she's going to tell you more about it. So Nani, now can you make her, well, she's going to share a screen, I guess. So welcome.
Thank you, Matt, and thank you so much for that introduction. I think I am going to skip the slides because I have too much going on my desktop, and I won't be able to find those slides unless somebody, the host of the meeting, has them. So thanks, everybody. Good evening, and thank you so much for the invitation to present tonight. Like Matt said, I am Nani Barreto, and I am with the Hawaii Wildfire Management Organization. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Like Matt said, we have been around for more than 20 years now. We're small and scrappy, located on the Big Island, but we do a lot with the little that we do have. We are the hub of wildfire across the state, and we work on behalf of and in close partnership with our fire and our forestry agencies, including the Honolulu Fire Department and our community partners like Matt and Camilo Nui Valley Mariners Cove Firewise community. Our vision and our mission over the past couple decades has always been the same, and that has been for our people and our places to be wildfire aware and wildfire prepared. So the work we do, it's very much focused on wildfire mitigation, education, risk reduction, and fire planning. We are proactive, we are very collaborative in nature, and our work plans are directly informed by all of our various partners, including community groups like you. So first off, wildfires in Hawaii, both frequency, size, intensity, it's been on the increase. And that's true in the past couple decades. In fact, in terms of the percentage of land burned every year, we are on par with the western portion of the US continent in many years, including California. We have lots of unprepared communities, lots of communities that are surrounded by large tracts of unmanaged lands that are chock full of invasive and fire-loving grasses and shrubs. Our climate is changing as well. We're experiencing more and longer periods of drought where our vegetation dries out and becomes fuel for fire. And of course, as our population continues to grow, so does the likelihood of ignitions. And that's because 99% of ignitions in Hawaii are human caused. 3/4 are accidental. Firefighting needs to be our very last line of defense. Our fire agencies, frankly, have very limited resources and will never be able to save every home in the event of a catastrophic wildfire. So given all these factors, we have a climate that's changing, we have landscapes that are covered in fire-prone grasses, and we have more and more human-caused ignitions. A lot of our programs focus on what residents like you can do to prevent fires and what we can do really to increase the chances of our home survival in the event of a wildfire. Fire can only travel where there's fuel, and that we can at least, that we can control, and that's, within the confines of our property. So in that regard, we teach residents how to harden their homes, how to create defensible space. We focus around that first 0 to 5 feet and 35 to 30 feet from the structures, and how to plan for evacuation. And because fire knows no boundaries, our programs always support and encourage neighbors working together with other neighbors, because there is a shared risk that can be addressed when neighbors come together. So what I want to share with you today are a few different resources and programs that we have available to you as residents. And if you don't mind, I'm going to use the chat box, and then Matt, for those in person, I think a lot of these materials, he might have paper copies, but if not, it's all on our website, which is hawaiiwildfire.org. So the first resource is the statewide all-partner public information campaign that we launch every year. You may have heard of it. It's called Wildfire and Drought Lookout. We had radio PSAs with kids, Keiki sharing single tip messaging. It's still ongoing. You may have heard that. And again, we launch this campaign every year ahead of what was traditionally the wildfire season. And the messaging focuses pretty much on prevention and quick tips on what can be done at the household level to prepare. All of our agencies are on board with the same messaging, and it's all outlined in a single front and back fact sheet. So at this time of the year, we ask anybody and everybody to help us get this message out. We share it with our elected officials, our HOAs, our community groups, all of our fire and forestry agencies. And I'm going to go ahead and put the webpage to that campaign, which we host, in the chat box. There we go. We also have a resident handbook that is specific to Hawaii homeowners and visitors, and it's called the Ready, Set, Go Wildland Fire Action Guide. And I think Matt said he has a few copies, but not too many. We encourage people to download the copy if they need one off our website. So this is the handbook that details everything residents need to know to prevent and prepare an evacuation. You can find this guide on our website or on, like I think the Hawaii Fire Department, the Honolulu Fire Department's rep earlier said it was on their website as well. So I'm going to go ahead and drop that link into the chat box, and that will take you to the Honolulu Fire Department's website that has that action guide. And I know the outreach department at the fire department, I was just talking to her the other day, and they're doing another mass printing, and we'll be distributing them at all the fire stations. So you can also pick up a paper copy up at your local fire station. Another program is our FireWise USA program. This is a national community-based voluntary program that recognizes neighborhoods all across the country that are actively working towards residential and community level awareness and preparedness. So we partner with our friends at the State Division of Forestry and Wildlife to support all the various neighborhoods across the state, wherever they are in their FireWise journeys. So that means we help them through the application process, including coming out and doing a community-wide hazard assessment, and we support them on an ongoing basis as they continue their FireWise efforts. Once they meet the requirements for national recognition, they get a sign, but they also join our statewide network of other FireWise neighborhoods across the state. And that way we can connect together, we can learn from one another, we share successes and lessons learned, we even plan projects together. So currently there are 15 neighborhoods across 4 islands, and 6 are currently going through the application process. Oahu has 1. And it happens to be in your Hawaii Kai neighborhood. And Matt mentioned this earlier. This is the Camilo Nui Valley Mariners Cove neighborhood. Matt is the resident leader for that neighborhood, as well as one of Hawaii Wildfire's community wildfire ambassadors. And there is a second one, Haile EQ 5, also in your neighborhood. This subdivision just completed a community-wide assessment and is in the application process. So Matt will tell you all sorts of things that he likes about the program. From my perspective, I really appreciate that it's not this one size fits all for each community. Instead, it provides a framework for neighbors in specific geographic areas to come together, get organized, find direction, take action in whatever ways that will keep them better protected from wildfire. And for folks in Hawaii, it's been a successful model in terms of community involvement to start addressing your wildfire concerns, and more are joining this program, which means our network is growing and our one voice is growing. I agree, there is a lot of feedback online, and I'm not sure where that's coming from. So yeah, the FireWise program is effective. We're making a difference. Agencies and community groups and funders and elected officials are recognizing us. They know which neighborhoods know their risk and are doing something about it. And for me, when we talk about community resilience, this really is resilience in action. So for anyone that's interested and wants to dive deeper into this Firewise program and what it takes to join, we are going to hold a very informal informational meeting in a couple weeks on Tuesday, September 12th. It will be on Zoom and in person at the Mariners Cove Bay Club. If you want to attend, I ask you to sign up so that I can grab your email address, and then I'll follow up with everybody that wants to attend with more details on the location and a Zoom link for those that want to join over Zoom. I will put that, actually I'll put a couple links in the chat box. The first one is our website, with all of the Firewise program information. You can also download our program brochure. And then let's see, I have a link for signing up to attend a follow-up meeting so that we can dive more into the Firewise program, and hopefully from that we can get a few neighborhoods that are interested in joining, and then we can start that process. So that link is in there too. And Matt, there's also a little flyer. I think he probably put it in near the back of the room, where people can either scan their phones to get their scan the QR code to sign up, or there's a link on that little flyer. And feel free, take a little bundle if you can and share it with your friends and neighbors who you think might be interested in joining you, because really it's all about community residents that take the initiative and the leadership to lead their communities. One last flagship community program that I want to mention is our Community Wildfire Ambassador Program. This program is for residents of Firewise communities or communities that are in the application process. And it's for residents that want to serve as that primary information ambassador to their neighbors for anything wildfire information or resources related. So Hawaii Wildfire, we train the ambassadors so that they understand and they can help share all the available resources and programs with their neighbors. They also get trained on how to do home assessments. And Matt Glee is one of those home assessors, and I will put information about those home assessments in the chat box as well, in case you're interested in signing up for your own free home assessment. And by the way, if you're interested in becoming a community wildfire ambassador, we are going to do another training probably early next spring.
Highly recommend it.
Matt went through the 3-day training, and so far he's alone in the neighborhood. So I bet he'd love to have some more ambassadors tagging along with him. And then lastly, I do want to mention, as we are holding all of these different information briefings and meetings with various partners and communities across the state, we wanted to make sure that we were collecting and tracking everybody's big wildfire concerns, their priorities, their project ideas, so that we can think through with our agencies and even our funders how we can best support all of the different concerns and needs and shovel-ready projects that are coming to people's minds. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little survey. I'm sorry for those in person. Maybe the link can be shared afterwards, but it's an online survey where we are collecting anybody's wildfire concerns, priorities, or project ideas. And I also you can also go to our website if you want to subscribe to our newsletters. There's so much, this is just the start of, further conversations. We host a lot of webinars about wildfire preparedness, fields management. And if you want to stay updated on when those learning opportunities or when those meetings take place, please subscribe to our newsletters. And that way you can make sure you're up to date with any upcoming opportunities. So I will put that in the chat as well. And that's it for me. Thank you so much for giving me, this space and this time to talk wildfire with you today. I know that it's on everybody's mind right now, and that we can't help but have Maui in our hearts so heavily. You can always reach out to me. Know that I am one of 2 directors for the nonprofit, and we have one email address that goes to both of us. And I will put that in the chat box as well. It is directors@hawaiiwildfire.org. And again, thank you so much. And I'm open to questions.
Thank you, Nani. Are there questions for Nani Barreto from the board or from the audience? Yes, Sam.
Thank you so much, Nani, for the very thorough presentation at a very poignant time for this topic. I'm curious if you're aware statewide of any, either incentives or punishments, so to speak, for property owners who have left a lot of fuel for their fire and have been neglecting their property. Is there anything countywide or statewide that you're aware of that can push these owners in the right direction to maintain their properties, either by removing this brush and installing native plants that aren't as fire prone, or creating fire breaks from other heavily populated areas?
Yeah, that's a great question. Every county acts differently and has different codes on the books. And honestly, even if we all had solid codes that were aligned with national standards, there's not a lot of enforcement, a lot of resources to enforce those codes. So I know there's been discussions with some of our legislators and elected our policymakers on what might need to happen in the near future in terms of creating and enforcing codes and policies, sort of thing. So our talking point when people want to start, pointing the finger at their neighbors, we always first say, there's a lot. Science tells us that there's a lot that we can do to keep an ember from igniting our house. So if there is a fire and there's fuel nearby, let's at least, prep our house, make sure that, I don't know if you've seen some of the articles about the miracle house, although it's not really miracle, it's good housekeeping and good defensible space. The one house that survived in Lahaina. So yeah, I don't have probably the answer that you want, but it's on everybody's minds.
Yes, Greg.
Yeah, my question is related to that. This turns off. Okay, there we go. But either Matt or Nani, whoever might have some information, there are laws on the books. Nani, you had said it's a trouble getting them enforced. But if you report something directly, then there's generally a follow-up to it. And here in the neighborhood, I'm concerned about the 4-acre parcel of preservation land down on Kealaho that a developer has talked about maybe building houses on. And of course, personally, I am very much opposed to that. But in their presentation, they even made an argument to us that it's better to build houses on it than to leave it as a fire hazard. Well, that to me seems an odd position coming from the developer when they should be the ones responsible for keeping it safe and not a fire risk to the neighboring houses in Cocovillas. There are a number of devices. We know the Parks Department probably should be taking better care of the property adjoining residences up at Coco Head District Park. And I would think we could convey that concern to them. I would think everyone would already be alerted and kind of self-motivated to address that now. But Matt, do you know of any specific laws, or how does one begin the process of reporting these negligent properties?
Well, I am not a lawyer, nor do I play one on TV, but the reality is there are places that the city has gone to, but it's a long, complicated process. There are homes in Mariners Cove that people have been working at. But it's a legal process. It's years in the making. And those are all things that, you know, we can't make them. But if we stand up together, we have a lot more clout. And so we're able to pull in Forestry Department, Hawaii Fire Department. We bring those groups together in each one of our Firewise communities, and that does make a difference. And yes, I wish we could wave a magic wand, but the reality is, if you don't stand up, there you are. It's just you and me arguing with the landowner. It's a lot better if we actually have, when we bring these to the neighborhood board, I'm sure, but you guys don't have a magic wand either. So we just have to stand up and make it better. Turned it off again.
This one on? Oh, there we go. The parcel across from the post office owned by Kamehameha Schools seems to be needing some attention. Normally they're reasonably good about that, but I did actually want to commend them for keeping the Great Lawn well maintained. And also in Kalama Valley, the area around Kalama Valley Shopping Center is also well maintained. So I think overall, they are doing a pretty good job of maintaining their vacant lots. But they need to keep up with it, and that one does need attention, so we'll convey that.
Visibility cuts in good ways.
Are there any questions online, Judy-Ann? Yes, Chelsea?
Thank you. Thank you so much for the great presentation. I just want to circle back to Liza. Liza's petition. Is there a capacity in Hawaii Wildfire Organization to partner with Lisa to be able to go do an assessment in the area of the range and the park?
Well, that's really, she's certainly welcome to come to our September 12th meeting, and we're going to have a lot more time to discuss specifically those things, like what does it take? How do you stand up? What's the process? How long does it take? Basically, we have to have more than one or two people who care, and we have to get that neighborhood to say we care. At that point, Hawaii Wildfire can help us. I mean, that's what we've done. We're doing in Waianae now. We've done it on Waialaiki 5. They're doing absolutely everything they can to stand up and support communities. But the community has to care first. They have to stand up.
All right, just a reminder to everybody in the audience that we do need to become proactive and take responsibility for our own properties and our neighborhood. And as Matt said, we need to get the bodies together and to be able to stand up together. We're stronger together than alone. Yes, Lisa.
Okay, for my part, I know from the conversations I've had on Nextdoor and through starting the petition, there were over 20 signatures that we've had, so I'll reach out to them. And I'll do my part to, communicate this information on the Nextdoor neighborhood blog and to other, of my neighbors on the street. And I'll try to see if I can get a good turnout for the meeting. And I just want to clarify, I have no expertise in this area. I just have motivation. So it would be an honor for me to be able to work with organizations who do have the expertise and to learn from them. So thank you.
Elizabeth, go ahead. Your question?
Sure. I want to just acknowledge the Mariners Cove, Kamilanui Valley Firewise community. When it started in 2018, it brought together landowners, Kamehameha Schools, McCorston, the cemetery people, Royal Construction. They were all part of this. And then, of course, the Mariners Cove residency. So when it was established where the fires were and the assessments were done through a Hawaii Wildfire Management Organization, we looked at the different land parcels that were included, and we were able to work towards getting those different landowners to join in the assessment as well as the process of maintaining. So I just wanted to mention in the case with Lisa, for instance, or the firing range or the park that butts up against the homes, you know, starting off with the homeowners and then again moving into DPR parks and then moving into parks again for that other section. I think that they would be perfectly interested in coming in and partnering and listening and learning if it's community driven, especially at least if it means moving closer towards getting an assessment. So I just wanted to offer that up, is take a look at who the boundaries are and who the landowners are, and then find the right person and then welcome them in to join in the information exchange. And it works because it worked in the Camilla Newing Mariners Cove.
Thank you, Elizabeth. I'll be sure to invite Kamehameha Schools to the September 12th meeting also. Any other questions for our presenters? If not, I want to thank you very much and remind everybody that there is a follow-up meeting to try to organize in different sub-districts to become more proactive. Sam, did you have a last comment?
Just wanted to, since we're talking about wildfire preparedness in light of what's happened on Maui, and I think it's difficult when we have different threats here in the island, whether it be or the islands, whether it be tsunami or hurricane or wildfires, and nobody would have expected wildfire conditions with hurricane force winds, and that's what made the situation, particularly in West Maui, so devastating. I had the opportunity to go to Maui for several days to help out some friends and volunteer, and speaking with people on the ground. It's very important for us as, you know, as heads of our households, especially for Kupuna in the community, to be prepared if something happens, to sustain yourself for several days. We don't know if the road's going to get washed out. We had the member earlier discussing the lack of communication abilities. So if we don't take it upon ourselves to prepare our families and not rely on the government, we're going to be in a really tough spot, because the government isn't going to be very expeditious in getting the help to everybody that needs it. It may take them a few days. So we joke about Laihagi, or, you know, another hurricane just missed us, but we really need to seriously be prepared as individuals to help our families and our neighbors as well that may not have already been prepared for these types of situations. So just wanted to put that out there for the community to be prepared. Thanks.
Amen, brother. Pray for Maui.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Nani. All right, we're going to be moving on to our officials reports. And our first on the agenda is the Mayor Rick Blangiardi's representative, Amy Asselby.
Hi,
Yes.
Chair, Mayor, and board members. Sorry I couldn't join you in person tonight. I have just a few updates. Unfortunately, some of the requests that were sent, I didn't get responses on yet. So I wanted to let you know about 3 items. Number 1 was the questions submitted from Reese Liggett about Vavamalu Beach, about changing the positions of the signs at the southwest entry point, sign language, and some signs by the boulder barriers. So the Department of Parks and Recreation has received all the photos and documentation that he put together. Thank you for that very comprehensive packet. The communications manager there just noted to me one of the reasons that DPR was able to get the boulders in so quickly when that was requested is because it didn't require any subterranean work. And so therefore they didn't need a building or an SMA permit. But he said if they are to install additional or more signs, which I'm not sure was exactly the request, I think it was the language on the signage, but that would usually require digging and pouring a concrete foundation. So just the only notes I've received so far and no official response yet. Another issue was the staffing at Cocoa Head shooting range and a timeline of when the other ranges may be opened. So the Department of Parks and Recreation responded to me that they had posted in mid-August, around the 17th, all of the positions that are available at the Cocoa Head shooting range. They sent me an example that they also posted on social media. So those are out there and they're soliciting for them. And just to acknowledge, there are over 3,000 vacant positions in the city, and on average, it takes 6 months to hire for positions in the city. So if you know folks who would like to work at the shooting range, encourage them to take a look at the city jobs website to move that process along. The DPR Communications also noted that they can't provide any updates on other parts of the shooting range, which are still closed. They have reopened the public facilities that they operate. The other ranges are operated by other agencies, HPD, State Public Safety, and firearms nonprofits. DPR continues to work with them on the necessary improvements that they need to make. And then there was a question about the Humane Society. And, you know, they are a private nonprofit organization. If they do receive any funding from the city, it would be in a competitive grant process. We don't provide them funding. But I just wanted to note a couple things about the fees. One, I checked out the website and they're waiving all adoption fees August 25th through the 31st. Every Wednesday, they have WAGs for Wednesday, and all adoption fees for dogs over 7 months old are waived. And they also regularly have 10% off adoption fees for teachers, first responders, and the military. And it is the puppies that are the most expensive to adopt at $250 if they're under 7 months. Dogs over 7 months up to 5 years are $100, and over 6 years are $50. So cheaper to adopt an older dog or cat. The same thing applies, but the fees are lower for cats and kittens. Kittens are $100 under 7 months. Cats 7 months to 5 years are $50, and cats 6 years plus are $25. So just sharing that information that I was able to obtain from the website. I am going to drop some updates on property tax information so people can learn how to apply for tax credits that are applicable for, particularly for residents over the age of 65. Those under the age of 65, the exemption has increased also. And then I can, anyway, I'll share the online sites where you can check out those forms to file the home exemption claim or download a claim form. And then I'll also drop in the mayor's newsletter. There's a few items in there about the first month of riders on Skyline, as well as some information about the mayor's Safe and Sound initiative in Waikiki. Any questions? That's all the responses I got on any of the questions that were posed last month.
Amy, I have one follow-up question. Could you clarify for me, is the shooting range still only open on the weekends, or are there some weekdays that they're open? Do you know? I thought that they were not
I don't know
able
off
to.
the top of my head.
Okay, I thought that they were not able to open regular hours because of the lack of staffing, but I wasn't sure if they were still only open on the weekends.
I believe you are correct that they don't have enough staffing to be fully reopened. But unless, like you, I went to look at the website or checked again with DPR, which I can do this month, I will let you know.
All right, thank you.
Yeah,
Other
sorry about that.
questions? Paige and then Sam.
Hi, Amy. Thank you so much for your report. I appreciate you talking about the Humane Society. And I did get the same information that you did. So thank you. Two things. The vacancies at the city, it's now up to 3,000, you said. And last month it was a little bit lower. They seem to be getting a lot more vacancies, but they still are not offering any part-time work. Every single job that I looked at on the city website, we're all looking for full-time positions. And I know that there are a lot of people out there that are only looking for part-time work because of other commitments in their life. So I'm just throwing it out there that maybe the city should look into maybe having two part-time people, really reliable people who will do the job doing one job, as opposed to keeping a vacant position open, which just doesn't serve the city at all to keep a position open when you could fill it with at least one person or maybe two people doing a part-time job in that position. And the city saves money because you don't have to offer them benefits. So just something to think about. The other thing is do you have any update on the grate on Portlock Road at 377 at Lane N? No update? Okay, thank you so much.
No, nothing further. Yeah, sorry about that.
Hello, Amy. Thank you for your report and your presence at the meeting. In light of what we saw in Maui County, I noticed that the mayor did reduce the short-term rental requirements to open up more availability for displaced families. Are you aware of any other initiatives or executive actions or changes in systems or processes that the mayor or the administration is now pushing for in light of what we've learned that Maui County went through to prevent similar circumstances happening here on Oahu?
We have not had a cabinet meeting to discuss changes like that yet, but there have been a lot of activities that the city overall has engaged in to support Maui County, including a lot of personnel, including folks in my office, as well as HPD, HFD, Emergency Services, Department of Emergency Management. They have been deployed to Maui, and they have been supporting both the relief and safety efforts over there. So in that sense, we're partners in trying to help them in this recovery. And beyond that, in terms of any kind of major initiative that the mayor has shared with all department heads, no, not yet.
All right. Any other hands raised? If not, I want to thank you, Amy, for joining us tonight. Oh, Elizabeth has
Thank
a
you.
question.
Thank you. I was hoping, Amy, that you might inquire for us about the 300,000 that was passed in the budget for the Cocoa Crater Stables. I was wondering, who is it going to be assigned to? Enterprise Services, who's going to be managing it, how those dollars actually get on the ground to do the work that's necessary.
So I did inquire, but I think Chair Waters' office was going to share that there really aren't any updates. It is 1 month into the new fiscal year. I inquired at the Enterprise Services, and they said, it's not us, we're not doing anything. And I inquired at DPR, and they said, it's not us, we're not doing anything. So I don't think it's been, the funding has been designated to any department yet. So I'm pretty sure, since we were checking on who was going to report on what tonight, that there is no major update on the processing or if there has been, for example, I'm guessing you're thinking like a procurement officer assigned or purchasing agent or someone, or yeah, they couldn't give me that.
Do you know, just from past experiences, when budgets pass, what that sort of time period is? Is a month to 2 months kind of average for internal processing and assigning and then contacting?
I have never worked on CIP projects, so I don't know how quickly they go.
Okay.
I've done a lot of programs, and they can take up to a year to procure.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much, Amy. We're going to be moving along. Is there a representative from City Council Chair Tommy Waters' office online?
Good morning, everyone. Amanda Zabella here on behalf of Council Chair Waters. Thank you for having me. I have our contact information in the chat, as well as a link to our District 4 webpage and our August newsletter. I do have a few community updates to share. Just continuing off of what Amy said, we do know that these projects usually begin with the design phase and design of construction, Department of Design and Construction. This particular project has not been assigned yet to a project manager. The funds are good for 2 fiscal years, and we are requesting an update from the administration. So as soon as we have more information on that, we'd be happy to share it. The Cocoa Head District Park automatic gate is still something that we're following up on. The City Council, I believe we reported previously, accepted a gift from the Oahu Visitors Bureau for the gate. Automatic locking mechanism adopted by the City Council. The city has not actually received the $50,000 yet from the Oahu Visitors Bureau. And so DPR, Department of Parks, will let us know when the funds are received and released to them. We're also waiting on some additional information that we requested for more specific information on how the locking mechanism will actually operate. So we're looking forward to that information as well. I do have a brief update on the Camilo Street overgrowth issue that we've been talking about for several months. Department of Planning and Permitting notified Department of Facility Maintenance on August 3rd to address the notice of violation that was issued for property 7078 Camilo Street. The DFM issued a letter dated August 11th to the property owner, notifying that the department has planned to remove the overgrowth on September 6th, 2023. So the work is scheduled. We're very happy to see that. The work is estimated at $1,000 to remove overgrown grass, weeds, and branches from private trees encroaching on the sidewalk area. And the owner will be billed for the actual cost incurred upon completion of the work. We do want to note that the owner still has an opportunity to comply with the notice of violation and complete the work themselves if they contact the department before that scheduled maintenance is done. So we're looking forward to that, finally. I know it's been a long process for that one. I know there's been a lot of talk about emergency preparedness and concerns about wildfires here on Oahu. I appreciate the presentation that was offered this evening. A lot of great information, and we definitely sharing that information with folks who contact us as well. At the city, there was a city council, there was a public safety committee meeting on August 24th, where we also had an update from city departments on Oahu preparedness. This information, the video for that meeting is available online. So I'll leave that information in the chat as well for anyone who's interested in seeing that. City Council and Chair Waters were happy to recognize our wonderful partners and leaders on the conservation efforts at Kaiwi Coast, including your board's very own Elizabeth Riley. So that was a fun thing this month to get to recognize the folks who've been working so hard to conserve that area. So mahalo. We did receive an email today regarding turtles that have returned to nesting at Mavamalu. So we're super excited to see that. And we did follow up on the request to Department of Parks to adjust or possibly reduce or eliminate the lighting in the immediate area. We know that's a concern for the turtles. And so DPR did respond and say they are working to accommodate that request. And the last announcement I have is regarding feral cat mitigation. I know that's also an issue we've talked about a lot. Chair Waters introduced just today Resolution 23-204, requesting City Department of Customer Services and Hawaiian Humane Society to provide an update on the efforts to control feral cat population. So we're looking forward to having an informational briefing on that, just to see kind of where we are with those, with the efforts, between the city and HHS, exactly how that program is going. We know, we continue to receive concerns about the feral cat population. We know that's a concern. It's also, we know it's quite a contentious issue. So we just want to sort of begin with sort of an update on where we are in making any progress on that issue. So I've put that information in the chat as well for those interested in reading up on that resolution. And if and when there's any more information to report on that, of course, we're happy to do so. And with that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Amanda, did you say anything about the funding for the Cocoa Crater stables?
Yes.
Going back to Elizabeth's question about when that money is going to be dispersed or used, and what department is going to be managing it?
Yeah, not quite a full response. Just that, the budget just went into effect last month. That this particular funding item has not been assigned yet to a project manager, but we do anticipate that it will be assigned to Department of Design and Construction for these types of projects to begin. The funds are good for.
Okay, you're cutting out, so we can't quite hear you. So if you could provide that information to us as soon as it becomes available, we'd appreciate it.
Sure thing. I'm putting it in the chat as well.
All right. And Greg has a question, and then Paige.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, Amanda, you gave a lot of good information, but unfortunately in the room here, I could barely understand any of it. It just seems very muffled. So you were putting some things in chat, and so I guess, Julianne, are we going to have access to all that? But I was also wondering, were you giving us a report from a prepared statement, something that you could submit to us that we would be able to read that? Because I was particularly interested in that property that has been neglected and that the city is moving on in order to do the cleanup itself and bill the owner, because that's precisely the kind of action that I would like to initiate if attention is not given to the property on Kealoha.
I see. Yes, so sorry. I apologize. I don't know if it was my earphones creating the
No, I think it's our whole setup here.
Okay. Yes, I do have a written report that I prepared, and so I'll be happy to share that with you via email. But just quickly, the property on Camilo Street, the Department of Facility Maintenance has scheduled that work to be completed on September 6th. So just real quickly, there's a process whereas Department of Planning and Permitting has to issue a violation. And then when the owner doesn't respond, it can go to Department of Facility Maintenance for the city to complete, and they'll bill the owner for it.
Okay, thank you. Paige, your question?
Yeah, hi, Amanda. So this is now the second month in a row that I've requested that if you or councilman cannot be at our meeting, if you could please send hard copies of your newsletter. And again, I don't have your newsletter this month. So I'd appreciate it if next month, if you're not going to be here again, and if councilman's never going to show back up at one of our meetings, if you could probably or possibly send copies, hard copies of your newsletter for people here in the audience and for me, for copies for the board. I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you.
Go ahead,
In
Greg.
addition to Paige's request, I did receive the newsletter and email today, but it is something that is prepared like for the beginning of August. And since we meet on the last Thursday, I mean, it's already dated. Perhaps if you're going to be distributing the newsletter to us, it might be good to send it to us at the beginning of the month when it's first available, instead
Sure.
of us waiting till the end of the month.
We're happy to do that. Yeah, I think the reasoning behind that is just that we didn't want it to sort of get lost into the shuffle of emails, you know, prior to our meeting date, but we're happy to do that. No problem.
Okay, quickly, Sam, I'd like to move on.
Yeah, thank you for the report, Amanda, and the update. I want to see if we can, in light of what happened on Maui, get more attention to the city-owned properties that are a real strong fuel source. So primarily in front of Vavamalu Beach, we have Kealaho and Kalanianaole Highway. That strip of land that's owned by the city, there's a lot of buffalo grass that's just waiting to be ignited, especially since it's along the roadside, as well as all of Cocoa Crater and the surrounding area. It would be great if we could get some more funding to plant native species that aren't as fire prone and remove a lot of the invasive debris that's there to protect the community moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. If you wouldn't mind emailing me, if possible, those specific areas of concern, and we'd be happy to help follow up on that.
Okay, a question from Elizabeth Riley. Go ahead,
Thank you.
Elizabeth.
Thank you. Amanda, real quick, and I don't know if Amy might have the answer. You know, it would be really good if somebody from design and construction, this is regarding Cocoa Crater and the 300 stables and the $300,000. You know, I was out there with the mayor, managing director, as with chair mayor, I believe board member Alton. And what's important to understand is that there's already a list of items that are the repairs that need to get done. So I'm just kind of hoping that when one says it goes to the division that you indicated, it doesn't just sit on someone's desk to start conjuring up what needs to get done, but that they pick up a phone or get in their car and they go to the stables and connect with the leaseholder to better understand and get that going. So I don't know who to communicate that to, but I thought I'd share it with you. And if you could point me in the right direction, I'll very nicely approach them. But I just want to make sure it doesn't sit on someone's desk. It's not a typical job, it's a repair job.
Yes.
So that community asset can be up and running sooner than later. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Sure, thank you. I think, would it be helpful if we requested a representative from design and construction to attend an upcoming meeting and provide an update or be able to answer questions? We'd be happy to.
Yes, thank you. That's
Okay.
brilliant.
Yes, that would be helpful.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
All right, thank you, Amanda.
You're
We're gonna
welcome.
be
Thank you.
moving on. All right, Judy Ann has indicated that the reports have been placed on Google Drive that the members have access to. All right, we're going to be moving on to the to Governor Josh Green's representative, Mike Buck. Thank you, Mike, for waiting.
Yeah, aloha, everyone. Thank you so much for allowing me to do this report. Of course, it changed dramatically. I want to tell you, I was really moved earlier about this Ready, Set, Go program. I think that everyone should take a look at this and find out, because I've been in the last 12 days in Diamond Head Crater as a JIC, the Joint Information Center. We've been given reports and positions to people literally all over the world and receiving them back. Everybody's hat was on differently for this. And to have this asset, this HWMO asset, I also in the last 13 days have been to Lahaina 5 times. And every time I get home, I kiss the ground in front of my house because I think we are all in a very, very interesting position. So what happened basically during the last 14 or 15 days is everything went to the issue. And the issue is really, really clear. And that's why I was so glad to see some of you interested in becoming a part of what needs to be done to fire things up. I do want to do a couple of things that we were not able to get to last time, and that was there is a when the mayor's representative was talking about job opportunities, there are a ton, and Paige, I heard you said it. They're part-time jobs at the state, so there are a lot of jobs out there. But mainly, my appearance tonight was just to let you know how impressed I've been with our first responders. The ability for the city and the county and the first responders, the nonprofits, the builders, the contractors, for them to come together the way they've done in the last, couple of weeks. It's an example to all of us. We can put our differences aside when it's time to roll up our sleeves. So I don't really have, to be honest, I came straight from the airport to here. So I don't have my papers from last time with the questions that were asked, but I do know that some of them were to do with planning. And I made an error that I want to be able to correct. And I pointed it out to a couple of folks in planning at the state. And that was that we have to be more inclusive, as what's happening right now in Lahaina is the folks want to be part of the rebuilding of Lahaina. Same thing here should happen in our neighborhoods, part of the planning on whatever is going to change. I mean, I think everybody is being told about Lahaina right now as though they're going to snap their fingers and it's going to be finished. It's not. It's done. And until they can, and we certainly don't want any of that to happen here. So therefore, I make a pledge to make sure that we get information disseminated through this group every time there is something of issue or of stance coming up, so that there's no hearing or meeting or something where if you cannot respond, if you cannot attend, you can certainly be aware of them and join them online. With that, any questions?
Questions for
Do I get off easy?
the governor's representative? Mike, I do have something to share. On our board business, we're going to be taking a look at the DLNR solicitation for food truck services at state parks. And I think that as a board, we may want to write a letter to the director and.
Yeah, if you would funnel that through me, I'll get it tabled. I'll get it I'll get it in front of where it needs to be.
Okay, and it would be helpful if you would maybe email me. Do I just send it to the director, or is there someone in particular that?
No, you send it to the director, and the director will route it to where he thinks it should go.
Okay.
And then we start that routine.
All right, and I'll copy you on it. Then
Yeah, do
if
that.
we do that.
Be my
Okay.
pleasure. Sure.
All right, thank you. Questions for Mike Buck? No? Anything online? All right. I don't see any. So Mike, thank you very much. Thanks for staying around.
Sure, you bet.
And thanks for all your good work.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
and once again, if you really what some of you have said about the bushes and the things in your, I was there. It is unbelievable what goes on in there. That town, it exploded, and it exploded because there was rubbish. And those of you that live on canals or streams, get them cleaned, because and once again, I want to tell you this HWMO package that you guys gave me is unbelievable. Everybody should find out a little bit about more about these guys and get involved.
Is that's the one that's on the HFD website, right? The
Yes.
Fire Department website. Okay. Yeah.
It is.
It's very
concise way
comprehensive.
to give you what's in your travel bag, how to prepare your house, what you should do. And it all makes so much sense. None of us follow it. But if you look at it and it's listed, you will. I'm gonna. Thanks, though.
All right, thank you. Is there a representative from Senator Stanley Chang's office? Nobody? How about Senator Chris Lee's office? Representative Jean Ward?
Yes, good evening. Hi, everyone. Chair Mayor, fellow board members. My name is Jillian Anderson. I'm Representative Ward's office manager. Representative Ward sends his deep regrets not being there this evening. He's unfortunately traveling on the mainland, but I'll be giving a brief summary of our August newsletter. So at the beginning of this month, on August 1st, Representative Ward held a Safe Streets Town Hall. And the purpose of this event was because we're getting an increase in reports to our office regarding speeding and pedestrian safety in Hawai'i Kai. So we brought together the directors of our state and county departments of transportation, as well as some members of our HPD. And we're very enthusiastic based on the results of this town hall that there'll be positive change in the future in Hawai'i Kai as it comes to increasing street safety. We're right now still in the process of prioritizing projects. So if there's any area that is of special concern to you, please contact our office. Pictures and videos would help as well, and we'll get that to the appropriate department. And if you missed the town hall, it is available to watch in its entirety on Rep Ward's YouTube channel, which is at Representative Jean Ward 1419. Representative Jean Ward is also having his September Beer Summit next week, Thursday. It'll be held at Greek Marina at 6 p.m. And our September guest is going to be Blake Hero. He's the current senior advisor to Governor Green. Previously, he was the chief of staff under Governor Abercrombie and served in our Hawaii State House of Representatives for 11 years. So it'll be sure to be an interesting discussion. Alcoholic consumption is not required. Just come for a casual evening and bring your questions for Rep Ward and Blake Oshiro. Representative Ward is also excited to announce the launch of a listening tour by 5 members of our House Republican Caucus. So very often our elected officials, when they do come to our communities, they often just come to speak to us. But our 5 House Republicans have decided that now is the time to truly listen, and especially as they're working on their bill package for next year. So they're starting their listening tour this week, but specifically for Hawai'i Kai, will be coming directly to you at Cocoa Head Elementary. This will be on Thursday, September 21st, starting at 6 p.m. We'll have food trucks, some entertainment beforehand, and then we'll be open to be listening to all of your major concerns, any solutions that you may have, or any way that you want to help us shape policy. We have also sent out in the last few weeks a survey regarding the future of Hawai'i Kai. So for those unfamiliar, we have lands in Hawai'i Kai owned by Kamehameha Schools in each of the states. They are currently home to our Kamilo Nui farmers, as well as James. These leases will be up in a few years, and the future of the uses of this land are uncertain. So our office is seeking information on if the community is even aware of this, and if so, what should be the future of these lands if it's not going to be what they're being used for currently. We're also working with Kamehameha Schools to share this data. So if you go to Rep Ward's Nextdoor account or to his website, www.gene/ward.com, you'd be able to access this. We already have almost 200 responses, so thank you for all those who've already filled it out. And lastly, we just wanted to touch on the increasing concern regarding wildfire risk in Hawai'i Kai. We do not want to detract from all the efforts, some of which we've heard tonight, by different groups and individuals that are looking to compile data. But our office does want to be a facilitator of communicating where there is concern. So we've already been receiving a lot of information from people who see specific areas of dry brush or neglected landscaping, and we're helping to be that intermediary to communicate with the landowner and to see results. So if you have any concerns, please send them to us, and we'd be happy to send that over for you. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Jillian. And are there any questions for Jillian? Chair Riley, Vice Chair Riley.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Jillian, I just wanted to comment and publicly announce that in 2018, or Representative Ward held a town hall meeting because of the fires in Kamilinui Valley, and it was there that many of us got to learn about Hawaii wildfire management. So together with Senator Chang at the time, I just wanted to acknowledge that town hall meeting was a game changer for the Kamilinui and Mariners Cove neighborhoods that were experiencing a series of fires. So I just wanted to do a shout out of thanks for that.
That's great. I'll be sure to pass that on. Thank you.
All right. I don't see any other questions, Jillian. Thank you very much for coming and sharing all of that information. Is there a representative from Mark Hashem's office? No one? Anybody from our congressional offices? All right, then we're going to be moving on to our board business. And the first item is the information that Greg shared about a solicitation that was made available asking for food trucks, mobile food truck providers for multiple parks statewide. And what is of concern to us is that on Oahu, one of the state parks listed is the Kaiwi State Scenic Shoreline, which has now become a new state park, but also we would like it to be kept in its wild and natural state. Greg, you want to speak to this?
Well, I was just concerned because it is part of that solicitation for proposals to provide food trucks, but I do understand they aren't actively, immediately acting on that with regard to Kaiwi State Scenic Shoreline, which also isn't quite a state park yet until the Board of Land and Natural Resources takes action on that. But yeah, it is opposed to what we have always stood for in keeping it in its wild and natural state. And once there's concern, of course, that if you start having food trucks, then there would be other facilities. I'm also concerned that they do have the authority to charge parking fees, and so far they haven't implemented that. Because that, since the time they did that, it's become outrageous. Like, I think it's $7.50 to pull over at Poly if you're an out-of-state visitor, just for generally a 5 to 10 minute visit. So they really took that and ran with it. I had opposed it because in those days when they were first proposing it, Kaiwi State Scenic Shoreline was also among the state facilities where they might start charging for parking. So anyway, we need to kind of watch these things early on. So it would be good to express our concern and opposition at this point so that it doesn't advance. But it is, in fact, it has been part of this initial solicitation.
Paige?
Thank you, Greg, for bringing this to our attention last month, actually. I think it is important to note exactly what Greg is saying is that this is a slippery slope. This is something I've been concerned about since they actually paved that parking lot at Makapu, that I have been afraid, and I've asked constantly our state representatives, are they looking to do at Makapu what they did at Hanauma Bay, which is charge for parking and set up a gift store and then charge for the hike? And I see it going in that direction. And this is just the first step in, we already have food trucks at Sandy Beach. They've been there for years and years and years. They're quiet. You barely even see them. But we had some instances a year or two ago where we had 5 or 6 food trucks that were setting up camp just outside the logs at Sandy Beach. We had food trucks that were setting up camp across from Makapu in that little sort of gravelly little area. And I think that is really important. And thank you, Greg, again, for bringing this to our attention. And I think it's important that if we want to keep Hawaii Kai, like, keep country, if we want to keep Hawaii Kai, we need to be diligent and really look at these types of things.
All right, board members, I think that there are 2 things at issue. Number one, do we want to take a position opposing having food trucks on the Kaiwi Coast shoreline? And then secondly, would you like me to send a letter to the director of the Department of Land and Natural Resources communicating our position on this issue. So I'm open to a motion
Chair,
to be able to take action.
before we
okay.
make a motion, I wanted to comment on something.
Okay, go ahead, Elizabeth.
Thank you. First, real quick, thank you to Greg. And for those who may not know, back when they were trying to charge fees for Makapu'u, it was Greg's research through OmniTrack data that he was able to help the board fend that off. So Greg, many of us don't forget that great work that you did back then. Second, I want to offer up, and I know this is going to sound super confusing, but bear with me. Kaiwi State Scenic Shoreline is a state park. It is a type of designation. I recently met with an attorney and I'm meeting with some other people because what's really important to understand is that changing the designation, the name to Kaiwi State Park is something that we all know we don't want because it conjures up things that we've seen such as at Diamond Head and creature comforts because one thinks of recreation and serving the people first as opposed to maintaining the landscape. So I'm working on right now an approach on what I was going to pitch to the neighborhood board and other neighborhood boards to support when it goes before the land board. And it's going to be as simple as saying, we want to keep the name Scenic Shoreline because it speaks more what that state park designation already is. And so I'm more than happy to share more information with you guys. I wasn't prepared tonight to share it. I was going to talk to Chair Mayor first. But to that end, Greg is absolutely right. When we start changing the name to Kaiwi State Park, like I said, it conjures up new things and opens up the door potentially for other things. So I would say right now, nip it in the bud and make sure that Kaiwi Coast is not included in that food truck solicitation. And there are many other reasons why I would suggest that, but for the sake of time, I'll stop right now. But we should have, we do need to have on our agenda, I'm trying to monitor when it's going to go before the land board, but we should have on our agenda about why we want to keep it named Kaiwi State Scenic Shoreline. So that might be for next month, but I'm monitoring when it's going before the land board. And there's a time constraint of when it has to go. So I'll be in touch with Chair Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, Greg, you are going to introduce a possible motion.
Well, I can do that. And as you said, except not just referring to the Kaiwi Coast, but just limit this to the state parks. Because we do feel that it probably works reasonably well at Sandy's, the city park, that they do have a food truck.
Well, I was going to say that we would request that the solicitation not include Kaiwi State Scenic Shoreline.
Yeah.
So that we're not
so.
objecting to food trucks perhaps at other state parks, but we don't want the Kaiwi State Scenic Shoreline as one of the areas that would.
So as you stated, if you'd like, I so move.
Sam?
Can we define the Kaiwi State Scenic Shoreline? Is this including Sandy's Beach, Vavamalu? Is this including the gravel area? So,
No.
So
That is specifically, I mean, it is designated some 380 acres or something like that, or I'm forgetting. But anyway, it is officially designated now as the Kaiwi State Scenic Shoreline. So it is a very specific place.
So we do that, or you do have an issue with the food trucks then being at these locations in front of Sandy's Beach or being in front of?
No, not at Sandy's is a city park for one. They do have that. And so that's what I'm specifically saying, not to include that, but just the Kaiwi State Scenic Shoreline as defined by the State Parks Department. It is under DLNR State Parks Division.
Chelsea?
Yeah, I was just listening to Elizabeth and everybody else talking. It seems like there's some sort of research that has been done for this issue. And perhaps the rest of the board members, like I for one, would like to read up on this before there is a consideration for motion. But I also understand that there is a time limit because something is, something is proceeding at the moment at the state level.
There's two different things, I think, Chelsea. So I think that we can take action so that DLNR does not continue down this path with this solicitation.
Chair,
Yes, Elizabeth?
I just want to offer up for the board to consider that we have commerce right there at Coco Marina. And then you do have occasionally food trucks at a city park at Sandy Beach. And then you have commerce again right over in Waimanalo. So there's ample places for the residents and visitors alike, to satisfy themselves for food and beverage. And so I just wanted to offer that up, and that there's ample opportunity between the city park at Sandy's and then Coco Marina and then Waimanalo. We might want to mention that just as well in support of our local commerce.
Okay. Yes, Paige.
So really we're looking at two different things, right? The first thing, I mean, if this is about state parks, which it says state parks right on it, then our first is to try to not have them change the name of our scenic byway. If it's that the shoreline is no longer designated a state park, then it makes it a moot point for the food trucks. Am I correct, or am I?
No.
Are they still going to lump it in there?
It is a park. It is a state park. There was an
But
act
it
to
hasn't
make
been-
it a state park.
Yes,
But
it
it's still
hasn't been-
called Kaiwi State Scenic Shoreline. And so what Elizabeth is talking about is something different about a name change. But we're not talking about a name change right now. We're just dealing with the issue of this particular solicitation.
Okay.
All right. Let me just we can do it by acclamation. Is there any objection to my developing a letter to the director of DLNR asking them to remove Kaiwi State Scenic Shoreline from their solicitation for food truck providers?
I object.
That's the thing, though. The state scenic shoreline is not on here. It's on here as a state park.
But it's listed as Kaiwi State Scenic Shoreline. It is a park.
Okay, I'm sorry. It says state park. It doesn't say scenic shoreline. It says state park.
It is a state park, and a scenic shoreline is a type of state park.
Right. No, I understand that, but I'm saying that this says state park.
I'm looking under Oahu in the middle column. And
That says scenic shoreline Nu'uanu.
it starts with Diamond Head State Monument, Kaena Point State Park, Kaiwi State Scenic Shoreline.
Sorry, I was reading.
Okay. All right, I'm sorry. So we have an objection to my sending a letter. So are we just going to let it lapse then?
Why can't
Wanna
we
vote?
take a vote?
Motion that you send a letter.
All right, we have a motion that we send a letter. Second. Yes. No, Paige made a motion.
I second it.
All right. Paige has made a motion that we send a letter asking that Kaiwi State Scenic Shoreline be removed from the DLNR's solicitation for food truck providers. Seconded by Herb. All right. Would you please take a vote? A discussion?
Yeah, the reason for my objection is, one, I tend to be weary against the slippery slope arguments. We're really talking about food trucks here. And if they're supported by the community, which personally I've always enjoyed food trucks being in locations that do not require me to get in a car and relocate my entire family from the beach to go get some sustenance. And I think it's a fantastic way of showcasing the entrepreneurial spirit of local people. And we always talk about making Hawaii more affordable and creating business opportunities. A food truck is a fantastic way to do that. I do not see that severely impacting in any way the state parks. And if we're concerned about charging for parking later on down the road, we can deal with that issue as it arises. But I do not think going after the food truck business owners and preventing them from having a large swath of area to operate, if that's what the community wants, is something that I am in support of. So I would like to see more food trucks throughout.
All right, any other discussion?
I'd
Chelsea?
like to just, oh, sorry.
I just want to ask one question regarding this issue, that with every issue there's pros and cons, and I'm just trying to understand aside from the issue of the scenic, serene, view, what other cons do we have here? And is it because of nuisance? Is it is there a higher risk of crimes or congestion? I'm just trying to understand both sides of the issue before. Let me take a step back. I don't think that there's any harm in voicing our neighborhood's opinion to this state level proceeding that's going on, because we can always come back and buy into it. However, I'm just trying to understand both sides of this before we go headlong into saying this is what we're against.
All right, Elizabeth?
I just want to remind everybody that this is the 50th year of Ka'ivi and the people's movement to protect it in its wild and natural state. It took 40 years of a community movement, and the pledge was to keep it in its wild and natural state. Creature comforts such as food trucks bring the need for garbage and more cost to be able to manage the garbage. This type of a thing also causes a havoc as it relates to driving and parking, and where do the people park for the food trucks. So there's a whole host of things that will then go into the resource and thinking of how do you fit this creature comfort into a wild and natural state, which takes us away from the purpose and intent of the 50 years of the people's movement to keep it the way that it is. So I'm just going to get off my soapbox and just kind of mention that to you guys. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Elsa?
So in regard to food trucks, it raises the importance of having bathrooms available, and it increases the trash. And so there is already overflowing waste containers every weekend along the very few places where there is waste containers. Then the next thing is, where will people sit? So there will be picnic benches as they're starting to have in Sandy Beach. So I think it really has will expand very quickly. I also want to mention that food trucks use very polluting compressors. No, not compressors. What are they called? Generators. Thank you. And that those generators are very noisy. If you ever been to a place where there's food truck after food truck, it's very noisy. It smells, and it pollutes. So if there would be electric ones, that'd be a whole different story. But that's not available yet.
Any last comments? Yes, Greg?
Well, I'd just like to reemphasize that this has been very consistent with many of the positions that we've taken with regard to the entire areas, all the Ka'ivi, Mauka to Makai, the scenic shoreline. Even when they were initially putting in the new lookout up at Makapu'u and then putting in the new parking area, that wild and natural theme was introduced and very reinforced. So I don't know for certain if our neighborhood board has taken an official position on that, but it certainly has discussed it over the years, over the last 20 years that I'm aware of. And even beyond, because the Safe Sandy Beach started up in the 80s, 86, 87. So this is consistent with the positions that we have always fought for. And I would think that if it's not already on record as an official position, we should reinforce it through this motion. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to call for the vote. Judy Ann? Oh. The microphone is coming to you, so you can take a roll call vote. So the motion on the table is for the Hawaii Kai Neighborhood Board to send a letter to request that the Department of Land and Natural Resources remove Kaiwi State Scenic Shoreline from their solicitation for food trucks for state parks. All right, call for the vote.
Okay, so that was moved by Member Alton and seconded by Member Schreiner. Member Alton. Member Che. Member Hollingsworth. Online, Member Hollingsworth. Okay, Member Newton. Member Newton. Yes, I'm calling you.
Aye.
Okay. Member Lee. Chair Mayor.
Yes.
Member Riley.
Yes, please.
Member Schreiner. Member Tanigawa.
Yes.
Member Wolf.
Nay.
Member Silva, not? No. Yes. Okay. All right. And Member Hollingsworth, are you there online? You're muted. Okay. Member Hollingsworth, I'm going to put you as abstain, if that's okay with everyone, or should we just not call her, or?
She's not part of the vote, so
Okay.
we would not report it.
Okay. So it's 8 yeses, 1 no, 0 abstain, and the quorum is 8, so it is passed. Thank you.
All right, then I will draft something and I'll send all of the board a copy. And I will also copy Mike Buck on it. All right, moving on, update on the Cocoa Head shooting range. We did get a little bit of an update from the mayor's representative, and it looks like they're still soliciting hires for the shooting range, and they are still available only on a limited basis. And so we don't know when the shooting range will be able to be opened on a regular basis. Update on the Cocoa Crater stables. Member Kim Hollingsworth, are you available to give us an update?
Give the update. Basically, it's status quo from last month. They've been spending their own money to fix it up. It looks great. And they're just waiting for the city to release the money to destroy a couple of buildings that are condemned and to bring all the stalls back and working.
Okay, anybody else have anything to add? Thank you, Herb, for that update. And hopefully we will hear back from Council Chair's office and the Mayor's office about how that money is going to be dispersed and who's going to be responsible for getting that to the stables. Okay, update on the Kaiwi Coast Scenic Byway. I do not have an update at this time, and we'll be taking a position on the. I'm sorry. I did get a report from Reese Liggett, and it was quite an extensive report. We do have some people who are still trying to move the boulders and drive on the beach. So we still have some scofflaws who are still trying to do that. Greg?
I went down there yesterday, and yes, there have been some incursions, but it is tremendously improved over what it had been. So I thank Reese for keeping on top of it and noting, and it does appear that the Parks Department has been responding reasonably well on that. He has notified them. Now, some of the other things that he specifically recommends, I think we would need to take official board action on. He's not a board member, but he is definitely a very actively engaged community member, and we do appreciate that. But as far as rewording signage, and even the city's mayor's rep had mentioned, some of those things get a little more involved, like pouring concrete and needing to do that. But so far, the city has been pretty responsive, and the area has been fairly well maintained.
I also want to acknowledge that Reese and his group have been out there monitoring the barriers and reporting any incursions. And I think that that quick response has been very helpful in helping to protect that area, because he reports the incursions to the city, and the city, as Greg said, has been reasonably responsive, and it's really been a good partnership. They've been trying to protect the area. And yes, Elizabeth, another hand.
Thank you. I just wanted to ditto for everything you guys said, but I do want to acknowledge a new weak link that has manifested, and that's and I didn't want to bring it up with HPD. I want just to mention it to the board, and we can noodle on it and decide what we want to do. It appears as if now, if you call 911 because you actually witnessed a violation and the vehicles are out there on the sand dunes, the police will now tell you, oh, you can't file a report. Only the parks can file a report. And that's very different from what we were told in the past. So there's something there that's not clear. And it's really unfortunate, because this last incident that Reese had monitored, or others had monitored, and they called the police, it was just very disappointing. The vehicles were still there and the police wouldn't do anything because they said a representative from City Parks had to make that. So I was just thinking about how we can get better understanding of what we can do as citizens when we do call the police because of violations like that. Maybe it was a missed call by that that officer on duty. Maybe we need to reach out to Councilman's office. I'm not quite sure who to speak with.
Thank you, Elizabeth, for bringing that to our attention. And I think that that's an issue maybe that we need to bring up with our police department when they're here next month. But at the same time, I'm going to send an email to Lieutenant Nakamura and see if maybe he can bring back at next month's meeting some definitive response for us on how the officers will respond to any calls. Okay, yes, Paige.
I do want to say that's really disturbing to hear, because the Honu are back now at Sandy Beach and at Vavamalu, and the monk seals have been very active moving around the island. And I would hate for another incident to happen at Vavamalu simply because the police have decided that they can't do anything about it. So I just want the public to be really, really aware about what's going on down there with the animals.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, I feel the same way. First of all, that's BS. Okay, any law, state, city, federal, can be enforced by an officer. They don't have that's like reporting speeding on the highway, and the Department of Transportation has to be there. So that's, whoever did that should be, disciplined. So
we have
yeah.
the badge and the name, just so you know. I'll share that. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll keep an eye on the Kaiwi Coast Scenic Byway. We are very interested in protecting that area. Yes. Okay, Judy Ann has indicated that Amanda from Council Chair's office is going to follow up on that as well. Thank you, Amanda. All right. I do not have an update on the Kamilunui Valley agriculture. Does anybody else have anything? Elizabeth, anything moving forward? Kamehameha
Well, Kamehameha
Schools?
Schools is out there in the community holding different informational gatherings. And I know that they met with the farmers and they spoke, and as they met with cultural practitioners, and they met with youth groups, and they met with natural resource folks. So I believe they're going to be circling, as they met with the neighborhood board, they're going to be circling back with these different groups. And my understanding is that something more will be shared with the farmers September, October-ish, I think is what they were indicating. But that's all I know. And that's only because I went to one of those public meetings. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're going to be moving on to board committees. Our board committees we have 4. There's transportation, education, parks and recreation, planning, zoning, and environment. And I would like to ask for committee chairs for each of these committees. And I'm wondering if those committee chairs who have chaired these committees would be willing to continue. So Herb has been the chair of the Parks and Recreation Committee, and he is willing to continue. So Herb, I'm going to be appointing you for the new term. Thank you very much. Elizabeth has been the chair for the Planning, Zoning, and Environment Committee. And Elizabeth, are you willing to continue as chair of that committee?
Well, I don't know if maybe a couple of new members that we have might be interested in chairing.
Well, we have 2 other committees I'm looking for committee chairs for as well. We have 2 new members, Ilsa and Sam Kanigawa. If either of those 2 are interested in chairing the Planning, Zoning, and Environment Committee, Elizabeth would like to know. And okay. Sam Kanigawa, are you interested in chairing any committee?
No, thank you.
Sam has already volunteered to be secretary, so I'm not sure it would be good to have Sam do another chairmanship.
I could be a placeholder, but like last time, I'll always go ask Lee to assist.
Okay, you want Elijah Lee to be a co-chair with you?
Elijah.
All right, so Elijah and Elizabeth will co-chair the Planning, Zoning, and Environment Committee. We also have the Transportation Committee and the Education Committee. The chair of the Education Committee is no longer on the board this term, so do I have a volunteer who would like to be chair of the Education Committee? Chelsea, would you like to be chair of the Education Committee? All right, thank you very much for volunteering. We have the Transportation Committee. Is there anybody who would like to volunteer to chair that committee? Elsa, how about you? No? Paige? No? We did not have a chair of the Transportation Committee last term, so I'll put this on hold. I'll bring it up again at a future meeting. At least we have chairs for 3 of our committees. Thank you for volunteering. Okay, moving on, approval of our regular meeting minutes. The minutes for July 25th have been distributed. Are there any suggested corrections to the minutes for July 25? I see no suggested revisions, so the minutes are going to be accepted as distributed. Are there any other board announcements from board members? Yes, Greg?
Paige and I attended a meeting that was called by another neighborhood board member about the future of neighborhood boards. This was on August 19th. I was there kind of late, so I only got about half of it. So I'm actually going to throw this over to Paige if she wants to report on it. But in general, I would just add what I observed is that, there's some serious questions about how is the neighborhood commission functioning? Why were there screw ups in the last election? How can that be improved? Looking at the neighborhood plan and how we can maybe fine tune that. It's been amended, but there was a lot of talk about maybe needing to start from scratch a little bit and really getting into it. So it's just the start of a process that will probably have other meetings following up. There were a little bit too many concerns that were specific board related instead of looking at the system as a whole. But it was still a good open discussion and it was a good start. Paige?
Thank you. Yeah, it was a great meeting. I would have liked to have seen more public participation at the meeting because, like Greg said, I felt that a lot of the people that were there, they're mostly board members from other boards all over the island. I got the impression that a lot of them were there for the minutia and for this is the problem at my board and I want this fixed at my board, as opposed to what I think the goal of that meeting was to look at the overall issues of the neighborhood plan, the overall issues of the election process as a whole, and those types of things. And I think going forward, it's a great start. But I think that it would be great to have more voices that are not board-related voices, maybe to bring a different perspective on what people out there see as the issues with neighborhood boards. But I think because we are the grassroots entity of government in this state, I think it's really important for all of us to take a look at this and the whole NCO and the whole neighborhood board as a whole, and take a look at how we can make it all better for everyone.
All right, so hopefully we'll learn more about that entire process as time goes on. Now, Paige, you also had some information to share with the board about the holiday parade. So would you take the time now?
Yes, so the neighborhood board has been invited to participate as a board in the holiday parade, which is the Saturday after Thanksgiving. It goes from Kamilawiki School, the parade goes from Kamilawiki School to Coco Marina Shopping Center. And as part of the $1,000 community outreach project that came from the NCO, this is one of the events that we're going to be participating in as a board. Greg has offered to MacGyver our sign for us so that we'll be able to hold that in the parade as we march. Again, it's not a long march. It's a pretty slow one. Nobody's going to be marathoning it down Lunalila Home Road. We're having our t-shirts, if I'm not, okay. So we are going to have our t-shirts, our board t-shirts, and then some sort of holiday something like Santa hats or, bells on or something. I'm taking any kind of, anybody who wants to give me some help with that, I'd appreciate it. But, and then after the parade as a board, we are going to have a booth at the shopping center, and I'm going to have an activity which I will get into more detail with in a month or so about what that activity is going to be. And it's for the keiki. The activity is all the activities, everybody participating at the event at Coco Marina is requested to have an activity geared toward the keiki. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So I just need to get sort of a guesstimate count on how many board members are planning to attend and participate in the parade and or in the activity at Coco Marina, because I know there's people that are traveling, and I know there was another board member said they didn't want to march, but they were going to they were going to participate in the event at the Coco Marina. So if we could just get like a count on who's going to be, oh, show of hands. Like at this point in time, who's planning on participating in the parade? You're going to march? I know you're doing one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Elizabeth? No, you're gone. Sam?
I'm gone.
No, thank you.
Kim? She's not there. Okay, so no. So there's, yeah, she's not participating as a board member. So, and then how many are planning to participate at the event at Cocarina? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. Okay. Thank you. I'll take another count in a month or two. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. I'm going to be moving into the closing announcements. The next regular meeting of the Hawaii Kai Neighborhood Board is Tuesday, September 26, 7 p.m. at Hawai'i Elementary School cafeteria and on WebEx. The Hawaii Kai Neighborhood Board regular meetings are cablecast on Olelo Channel 49 on the second Monday of the following month at 9 p.m. and repeating on that month's third Friday at 7 a.m. Videos can also be seen online at the Olelo webpage or the Neighborhood Commission Office webpage. Thank you all for attending tonight and for staying with us. Don't forget the follow-up meeting on September 12th from 5 to 6 at Mariners Cove Clubhouse or online. We'll see you all next month. Meeting is adjourned.